Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Points of Articulation. My name's Dave and if you're new to the channel, welcome. Today I'm looking at the Star Wars Micro Galaxy Squadron Razor Crest. It's number 18 in the set and was released in 2022. The Razor Crest was first seen in Star Wars The Mandalorian. To my knowledge, there are two different versions of this vessel out there right now. We have the standard version, which we see before us, which features Dindajar, the Child, and also Grief Karga, which I'm excited about. Carl Weathers is awesome. But then there's another version. I believe it's a Walmart exclusive. I haven't found it yet. But once I do, depending on what it looks like, perhaps I'll pick it up. Now, this particular vehicle has a lot to talk about, so I'm going to get right to the review. For the dimensions, we're looking at a length of about 8¼ inches, or about 21 centimeters long, which is fantastic. As you can tell, it's a large craft, and don't worry, towards the end of the review, I'll have a massive size comparison section with different Micro Galaxy Squadron vessels and also other Razor Crest type vehicles from Hot Wheels and maybe some from X-Wing. We'll see what happens. Now, if you're new to my channel, what I like to do is go over the mold, articulation, gimmicks. Then we zoom in, get nice and close, and show everybody at home what we're really paying for with these models. You know, see those fine details. Then we'll move on to look at the figures, the paint, compare it to some other pieces, and then we'll be done. So let's get started. Alright, let's kick this video off looking at the mold. Like in all my videos, I will go over all the major sections of the item, and then we'll get a nice close-up look to see those fine details. So let's begin. This is a larger ship, something that's bigger than what I usually review, so hopefully this video comes out good. So in the front we have our cockpit. This does open, and we'll go over all the little gimmicks and everything in just a few. We have our laser cannons, which look amazing. Really cool, nice and bulky. Really sharp. On the sides we have our pylons, looking good. We have our two engines, which have awesome looking intakes. And also, look at the thruster sections. Looking sharp. Up at the top, we have our escape pod. Back here, according to Hasbro, there should be like an aft turret, but it's not on this particular model. But looking cool nonetheless. On the sides, we have our entry ramp. Paneling, which looks amazing, and a lot of this stuff comes apart. Wait until you see this thing. In the aft, we have our aft entry ramp, which looks pretty cool. And on the side, more detailing, which looks amazing. Underneath, copyright crap underneath the pylons. We have landing gear, which looks amazing. And just lots of little details. This is a fantastic looking ship. So before I get to the close-up to show everybody all the fine details on here, let's talk about all the gimmicks and moving parts. Alright, now for the paneling that can come off of here, first on the engine, there's a little lip right here. Just slide your fingernail underneath. And it comes off. You can see it's detailed. We'll have a closer look at all these details in a few. Back here, you slide it towards you. You can see this little lip come out like so. And just lift up. And now you have access to the interior. It's like I'm taking apart a gun or something. Look at all these pieces. So pretty nice. And right here is a Carbonite chamber. Looking dope. This actually opens up. And we could put something in there. We'll look at that later on. We have some cargo netting. Some great details. Very nice. Now besides that, we have our aft entry ramp, which looks pretty cool. Everything snaps on. So very nice. Very detailed. Moving on to the front here, we have another entry ramp, which is very detailed. And if you look right through, there's the armory. Lots of weapons and grenades. Very cool. Now right here, this actually pops out too. And it's all detailed. So lots of playability here. Moving on, we have our cockpit, which opens. And we have two seats in the back, a little peg here for the child, and then right here we have our main seat for our Mandalorian Dindajar. Very sharp. And again, we'll have a close-up of everything in just a few. But that's not all. Close all this. We have landing gear. Now, this is very interesting. I always have a problem opening up this one. We'll see if I can get it. Oh, there we go. So this folds out. We can see detail in there. Then this one folds out. And then we have one in the front. And as you can see, it's pretty nice looking landing gear. And it works. Like, look at that. That's sharp. But all in all, we have some nice pieces here. Everything folds away, tucks away. And that's what it's all about. Now, I wish we had a stand with this to hold it up. But, I guess it is what it is. But just like that, everybody, everything goes back together. And you're good to go. Fantastic. A lot of moving parts on here and panels. Great stuff. So now, let's get a closer look. And now, having a closer look, we'll begin looking at the bottom of the craft. We could see a nice amount of detailing on the landing gear and on the front and on the main body as we go back down. And it looks amazing. What I love about this is there's tons of different types of textures and details, from line work to little recessed areas. Here we have the landing gear. Now I want you to take a moment and look at the design work they did on the outside of the landing gear. It matches the main mold of the body, which is amazing. They really did a decent job with this, and that's an understatement. Now the paint wash on here is a little tacky, so that's why I couldn't get all the dust off of here. It sort of got stuck to it. But besides that, a damn good model. And you can see all the detail in here, the angles. Looks fantastic. Now on the aft, right back here, look at the amount of detail. Let me turn it around for everybody. They did not even need to do all that, and they did. Fantastic. Now coming down the side, again, we could see all these beautiful panel lines and angles. It looks amazing, like a giant beautiful polygon. But amazing stuff, like right here where the landing gear should be. Just amazing. Just look at this. Really cool. And we have our access hatch right here in the front of the craft, and you can see how it goes from industrial to sort of changing right about here to this aerodynamic part that looks like a Republic gunship a little bit, but really cool. And you can see the beautiful design work right here in the front, like underneath this rectangle piece that goes up and down. Like, look at that. This is fantastic work here. Really cool. We'll take a look at the guns in just a few. I just want to get the main body done first. Again, excellently done. Really nice. I love the panel work here. And coming up. Excellent. Now for the pylons, besides the copyright crap we'll see on both of them, the angle here is very impressive, and the detailing does not stop. As you can see, it matches up to the main body at certain points as well. But pretty good. Really nice. And it sort of goes up, and I didn't want to touch the top of the ship yet, but might as well. You can see the detail in here. All the little doodads. Just looks fantastic on that pylon piece. Really cool. And the same goes for this side too. The angles are amazing, and I love it for that. We have all little doodads and panel lines. Looking good. And we have our aft section. See, it's looking dope. Same goes for this side. And then the underneath. Copyright crap. A little heavy with the black wash there, but believe it or not, that part's not sticky or coming off, so awesome. But really cool. I love the design here. Now, looking at the main body itself, it's a little difficult to film, but I'm going to try and get it. You can see the massive amount of line work and different types of textures we see here. What looks to be flat, and we have recessed areas, areas that are raised up. This little access part, look at all the detailing in there. Like, to me, that's awesome. And we come up to the main body, and we can see our escape pod right here. More line work and different little doodads and mechanisms. And here we go with our angles in the front. And it's just simply a beautiful piece. And then we have our cockpit, which is translucent plastic for the most part that's painted over. And if I turn it, you could see that the plastic or the windows are recessed in, sort of like a submarine, and that is amazing. I love that detail. Of course, we also have our little armor here and there and little doodads and panels, but fantastic stuff. It really is beautiful. And then we come right back to the front. Sharp. All right, so let's take a look at these guns now. Here we have our laser cannons, and I love the little armor on the side here, nicely detailed. Our main mechanism, and then our barrel, and everything is detailed beautifully on here. Look, even in the back, you have detailing. The underneath. The top has a lot going on here, which is pretty sick. And looking at it from this way, you can see again more detailing, which is sharp. And this weapon's basically the same, so we'll just focus on one. But very, very good. That came out awesome. Now, one thing I wanted to discuss is the engines. Now, the engines, in my opinion, are beautiful. For the outside aspect of them, you can see different textures here, panel lines, and I love this little ridge section back here. Just really cool. Put a lot of work into these engines. And then coming right back around to where the pylon is, you can see it's nicely done. Now, looking at the front, which is arguably one of my favorite parts, you can see a massive amount of detailing from right here where my thumb is all the way around. And we have line work on here, little grates. I mean, they went all out on here, and it shows. For the underneath, we have this tiny little intake section, and then it goes under for this rectangle piece that goes down. And here's our main intake. It's a little hard to see, but there is a fan in there, which is pretty cool. I think you guys can make it out little bits here and there. It's all black inside. And if you notice right here, he's missing a piece of his ship. That is accurate to the first couple of episodes. So that's pretty sharp. The other engine is complete. It's not missing that piece right here. But we'll take a look at this in just a few. Jumping back, we have our thruster, and look at this. This is amazing. I love the paint as well. Nicely done. Beautifully painted. And the coolest part for me is that it's recessed in and molded. Look at the detailing in there. Now that is sharp. Looking good. Now moving on to the other engine, you can see it looks very similar. Beautifully detailed. but there's one major difference. This whole section can pop off. So let's look at the detailing real quick. You can see we have some Pylons. This, I don't know what it's for. It's obviously a port to put something, but I don't know what really goes there. Maybe it's something for a future release. I'm not too certain. But you can see some beautiful detail on here. Looking good. And then in the front, again, look at the nice detailing on here. Going underneath. Looking sharp. And then the interior. It's a little hard to see, but we do have our blades on the sides. And our center section. Looking dope. Now this panel actually comes off. You slide your fingernail underneath. Open it. And underneath the panel, it's actually detailed. Which is pretty cool. And then for the panel itself, there's nothing really special here. Like nothing's painted widely different or anything, but it's a nice engine component. Which looks kind of cool. And to put that back on, just slide in like so. Oops, did it backwards. Slide on like slow, just push it, and there you go. So that's cool. Now we have our cockpit. Now I already went over the mold for the outside, but it does open, which is nice. So if you look here, we have a lot of detailing on the interior, which is pretty cool. Then moving in, it's not 100% accurate to the show, but we have two chairs, a little peg here for, you know, Grogu, and then a chair for the Mandalorian himself, and some buttons and controls. Turning it to the side, we can see there's some panel lines on the floor and the wall. Nothing really too much to talk about, but it is kind of cool. Looking straight down, you can see the detailing. And then in front, there's basically nothing here. Just the buttons on the top. A little lever right here. Regardless, looking good. Alright, moving on, let's talk about the landing gear. Now we have our main one right here. You take your thumbnail, stretch it out. Now the cool thing is, there's actually detailing in here. It's a little hard to see, but check that out. Don't know why they did that, but it looks kind of cool. For the landing gear itself, let me get that straight. Looks like a piston and a little piece that makes this level. Sort of like a joint. Not much to talk about, but it looks good. I'll give them that. Looking sharp. Now for the sides here, like I said, they molded the exteriors to match the main body mold. And what you're going to want to do is put your nail there, and it just pulls right out. Now let me get this one. And you can see we have our little foot pedal here. And what looks to be like molded pistons. So that's kind of cool. And the same goes for this side. We have our pad here, and then our pistons. And then we have that cool design that we saw in the front molded there. And that looks awesome. Really cool. And it actually holds up quite well, as we saw. So very nice. Let me fold that up. And everything holds very securely, which is nice. Now let's get these access panels. Lots going on here today. Get your thumb on this little lip right here. And pull it down. And you have this little walking plank. Which is kind of cool. And in the interior, we'll look at that in just a few. But, oh man, there's the weapons. Nice. So in the aft, right here, we have our entry ramp. That also extends down. And you can see the beautiful detailing on that as well. Which is very sharp. it just goes right back up and locks into place. So now, let's get these panels off, show you the detail on them, and then we'll look at the interior of the craft. Alright, so let's open up the top section. We'll take a quick look at that panel real quick. So here we have the panel. And lots of nice line work on here. They didn't need to do any of this, but it looks cool. There's our escape pod. So pretty sharp. Now before we look at the interior, we'll pop out this one too. There we go. And we'll take a quick look at the detailing on that. As you can see, some little bags. And lots of nice detailing on here. Very cool, very slick. Fantastic stuff. So, let me put these pieces to the side. So let me grab the ship here. And we'll open up all the hatches, try and get as much light in there as possible, and see what we can see. So let's begin. Alright, so having a closer look, let's look at the detailing. Now, they didn't even need to do all this, but they did. Up at the top, we have some hoses, cables, a little ladder here. Looking good. Just lots of little details. Looking kind of cool. Now we have our little cargo net there. Again, our ladder. I don't know exactly what this is for. It seems like they made this to do a lot of different things that sadly we don't have components for yet. Maybe in a future release. Again, more detailing coming down this side. Looking cool. Very nice. Now, to get a good shot of the interior, it's going to be a little difficult, but I'm going to do my best. For the ground, here we have some beautiful detailing. Nice mold. You can see the design on the floor continues all the way to the front. And then we have our carbon freezer, which if we open that up, we have a bounty in there, which is removable. And we'll take a look at that later on with the figures, but great touch there. I really like that quite a bit. Nice. Looking this way, we have our cargo net, our ladder. Basically, we looked at that already. And then here we have our weapons cache, or weapons locker. Lots of weapons. We could see some thermal detonators, different blasters. This looks sharp. Very nice. And we have some detailing right here, which looks cool. Awesome. And that does it for the mold. Hopefully I covered everything. I went over this with a fine-tooth comb. So if I did forget something, let me know in the comments below. Before we move on to the paint, let's discuss those minifigures. Alright, moving on to the figures, we have the child in his hover pram, which looks pretty cool. Now for the size of this, he comes in at about 0.23 inches, or about 0.6 centimeters tall. That's under half an inch. So this is very, very tiny. Now with the stand, as you can see I have him plugged in on, with that, it's about 0.66 inches, or 1.7 centimeters with the stand. So that's about under 3/4 of an inch. Very tiny. But you can see all the details on here. It looks very good. We have his blanket, his little clothes. Very sharp. I love the detailing on here. Now sadly there's no articulation, but you can see all the nice molding. It would be cool if it had a tiny amount of wash. I mean, just a brush to make all these details pop. but really cool nonetheless. I think they did an amazing job here. You can see all the details on his head and his clothing, the blankets. Very cool. Now for the paint, he has about 4 different colors. We have off-white and that, I would say, reddish orange for the hover pram. And then for him, we have tan for his clothing and green for his skin. All in all, a nice piece. And to make it even better, it comes with a cool stand, which is nicely molded as well. Pretty cool. Now to compare this to the Mandalorian, you can see just like that, looking pretty sharp. And one thing I did want to mention, the stand is removable. And you can see how we have a nice peg there. And it's basically held on with friction. So it's not going anywhere. But the main reason you could take this off is because he can actually fit in the cockpit of the Razor Crest. Next up, we have Dindajar and the Mandalorian himself. For the size, it's about, I would say, 0.8 inches or a tad over 2.2 centimeters. It's not exactly 1 inch tall, but he looks cool nonetheless. Now, with paint, this guy has about 4 different colors. We have brown, silver, tan for his boots, and then black. And this figure actually has some great articulation, but when I tried to do it, it was hindered because, as you can see on the back with his jetpack and his little cape, this could actually come off, which is amazing. Look at that, a little peg port. Pretty cool. Nice details on this, by the way. Fantastic. So real quick for the articulation, the arms can go all the way around, which is nice. And then the legs can bend all the way up. Great stuff. Now, when it comes to detailing on these figures, the company does put a lot into these characters, but for this one, I'm super impressed. Look at that. We got his blaster, different belts and straps, the Beskar armor, the boots. Everything looks amazing on this guy. Could the paint maybe have been a little better here and there? Well, yeah, I guess so, but for the size, it looks amazing. Really cool. You can see all his little gadgets. The armor looks fantastic. It's all battle damage too. You can see some dents and dings here and there. Looking good. His helmet looks fine. Wish it had a little black paint there. But I guess I could do that myself if I really wanted to. Pretty cool little details on the back of the helmet and the rest of his clothing. And to get that jetpack on, it actually wraps around his shoulders. Oh geez, it's so small. I don't want to peg it into his back. It's a little hard to do. There we go. I should say hard to do on camera. But it looks sharp. I think this looks amazing. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And now we have the figure that I was excited for the most, to be honest with you. I'm a big fan of Carl Weathers. When it comes to Rocky and even Predator, I love his character, and the fact that he's part of the Star Wars universe now is amazing to me anyway. But here we have Carl Weathers' character, Greef Kargan, and he looks fantastic. For his size, he's about 0.8 inches or 2.2 centimeters tall, and he has lots of detailing on here. You can see folds. Pretty nice. For his paint, he has about, I would say, 5 different colors. He has black, dark brown, red, and that's mainly for his clothing. Then we have his nice skin tone and also gray. All in all, pretty sick. Now for his articulation, his arms can go all the way around. And he does bend at the hip pretty nicely. Awesome figure, really cool to have him. And our final figure, if you will, is the Bounty in Carbonite, and this looks amazing. Look at all the details here. Fantastic stuff. Now, for the size of this bad boy, we're looking at, I would say, roughly just under an inch tall, or 2.4 centimeters. It's a little taller than the figures, because technically it has to be. You can see the size of the person here, and then the actual Carbonite going around. For its paint, it only has two colors. We have silver and then a black wash on here, so all those details can pop. And the cool thing is, on the sides, we have all the little knobs and buttons. Nothing's painted on there, though. It would have been cool to have a little yellow and stuff. Green and red and white. But it is what it is. On the top, we have a little holder. And on the bottom, same thing. Looking sharp. And then underneath, just, you know, the mold process. But it's pretty cool nonetheless. It's a nice little addition. Now, when it comes to the Carbonite prisoner, what we're going to do is lift this door up. You can see there's some space there. Take your Carbonite person, slide them in. And just like that, everybody, you're good to go. To get all the figures into the cockpit, it can be a hassle, especially if you have large fingers like myself. What I do is I start with Grief, make sure he's in there. Then what I like to do is get the child. Now remember that peg in the port. I'm gonna try and line this up the best I can on camera. Bingo. And then you're gonna want to grab the Mandalorian. Get him into his seat like that. And just like that, everybody, you're good to go. So that's everything I have to say about the mold and those minifigures. Hopefully I did everything justice. So now let's take a look at the paint. And now looking at that paint on the Star Wars Micro Galaxy Squadron Razor Crest, this vehicle has about 6 different colors. First off, we have metallic gray, silver, copper for the engine thrusters, yellow on the sides of the craft, black, and also the whole ship is covered with a black wash. And to be honest, the black wash is really good, it fills in all the nooks and crannies, but it's not 100% dry, and it gives off this tacky feeling a little bit, you know, like a sticky residue. Besides that though, I think the paint looks phenomenal. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Moving on to the size comparison section with the Star Wars Micro Galaxy Squadron Razor Crest seen in the center, we're going to compare it to some other Micro Galaxy Squadron vessels. First, on the right hand side, we have the Imperial TIE Fighter, and then on the left we have Luke Skywalker's X-Wing. Next up, on the right hand side, we have the Imperial AT-ST Walker, and then on the left hand side, we have the Genovix Starfighter, you know, Asajj Ventress's vessel. Looking sharp. Moving on the left-hand side, we have Darth Vader's TIE Advanced, a nice model there. And then on the right-hand side, we have Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter, looking very cool. Moving on to some bigger ships, we have the Micro Galaxy Squadron Slave 1 on the left-hand side, which is a very nice piece, very big as you can see. And holy cow, next to the Razor Crest on the right, we have the Millennium Falcon, which is a massive ship, and when I get to this, it's going to have a nice review. This has lights, sounds, the whole compartment opens up, gun turrets and everything. This is a fantastic model, but for size comparisons, you can see how the Falcon just basically dwarfs the Razor Crest. It is insane, but these are some amazing vehicles. I love this collection. And I swear, everybody, we're almost done. Moving on to the Hot Wheels ships. On the right-hand side, we have the Starships Select Razor Crest, which looks breathtaking in my opinion. Then on the left-hand side, we have the normal Hot Wheels release of the Razor Crest in that awesome-looking chrome. Next up, to compare with the Micro Galaxy Squadron Razor Crest, on the left, on the right, we have the X-Wing Miniatures game version of the Razor Crest, which I love this particular model. I think it is beautiful. Once I start reviewing X-Wing ships again, your guys are going to be blown away with the amount of detail on that bad boy. Fantastic vessels all around. And for our final size comparison with the Micro Galaxy Squadron Razor Crest seen on the left-hand side, on the right, we have one of the first 3D printed versions of the Razor Crest. Now this came out around, I would say right after Season 1. My father got it for me and then gave it to me as a gift. And this thing, at the time, it was awesome, especially the engine section. And one day maybe we'll take a look at this. It's not 100% accurate on hull detail, like the panel lines and all that. As you can see with this one, it's covered with it. But it's a cool model nonetheless. You can see it has landing gear, the laser cannons. It's a little blocky here and there, but for being a 3D printed model, it's pretty cool. Now, if you want to see reviews of any of the items I showcased today, please check the links in the description below. And that does it today for my review of the Star Wars Micro Galaxy Squadron Razor Crest, released in 2022. This piece is spectacular. For the mold, it has everything I would expect from the Razor Crest. Engines, pylons, cockpit, laser cannons, the access panels, the landing gear. Everything is accounted for. And for the size, it's a beautiful looking model. I really do appreciate all the fine details throughout and inside of it as well. Nice touches, great little callbacks to the show, including the armory and also the Carbonite chamber. And you can't forget the bounty that's encased in Carbonite, which is a great little touch and add-on to this piece. For the paint, I love it. We have about 6 different colors working together, and sure, the wash is a little tacky here and there, but for the most part, it looks beautiful. For the minifigures, we get a couple of them in this set. I think Dindajar and Grieve Karga are very nicely made. The child is great as well. He comes in his hover pram. And what they did with the child, giving us a stand, was a very nice touch. I think they could have just left it alone, but they went the extra mile. And the fact that we could also put the child in the cockpit in back of Dindajar and the Mandalorian is beautiful as well. Pretty sure my only gripe, and it goes for most of the line, is no stands. But don't worry everybody, I'm working on it. So that's everything I have to say about this awesome ship today. If you enjoyed my video, please smash that like button, and if you'd like to see new videos every week, subscribe. Again, to all of you out there who take time out of your busy schedules to watch my show, thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you next time. Bye everybody!